special workshop with the Gainesville City Commission alongside the Children's Trust. Because this is a workshop, there will be no motions or no action taken. It's more about having a discussion with the Children's Trust about our mutual goals and priorities and how we can work together to get at some of these important issues that were the basis for the formation of the Children's Trust in the first place. So it's good to see so many friends and old familiar faces. I was saying earlier, I needed this meeting to sort of get me away from my screen and my scrolling and my anxiety. And it's good to actually do something productive and something that actually can promote good governance and help our neighbors. So thank you for being so prescient to schedule this the day after the election. Commission, we need to adopt the agenda. There's just one item on it, discussion with the Children's Trust, and there's a presentation that they're going to give. Would anybody like to move adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, seconded by Sacco. And so we'll go to a vote, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Sacco.
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes Santos.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
I believe Commissioner Ward is absent. Commissioner Ariola also absent. Commissioner Simmons also absent, and Mayor Poe.
Aye, that motion passes unanimously with 3 members absent. Lee, are you chair?
Yeah. Yes.
You want to give any introductory comments, or you want to get right into it?
I'm just looking forward to meet with y'all, see what y'all have to say, see what y'all are, interested in, and looking forward to giving y'all the presentation and then kind of going from there. And it's our pleasure to meet with you. And I kind of do the same thing. As far as agenda is concerned, does anybody have any issues with the agenda? If not, if we'll have a motion, that would be good. Anybody want to make a motion?
So move.
Okay, have a motion to approve the agenda. Any seconds or a second? Okay, thank you, Cheryl Twombly. And any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is unanimous, and we'll do a roll call. Member Labarda?
Aye, here.
Member Certain? Member Cole Smith?
Here.
Member Hart?
Here.
Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Twombly?
Here.
Member Wilson Bullard? Member Clark? And member Cornell. Okay. All right, let's carry on. And I guess the next item, Mr. Mayor, would be the presentation.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. And I believe Colin Murphy, who is our executive director, will be kind enough to give it to us.
And if it's okay, I'm going to share my screen. So if you give me just a second to do that.
Okay. And Tina, I see you're here.
And y'all, I'll be monitoring the if anybody raised their hands on the participant list. I always kind of give the same talk that if you can wait till the end, that's great when we have general discussion. But if it's a point of clarification or something like that, you want to make sure you heard something right or see something right. Just raise your hand and I'll get to you when it's a good time to pause.
And could you confirm that everyone can see my screen? I'm assuming that you can.
If your screen is the Windows home screen logo, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you to the members of the commission and the trust. I just wanted to give a brief presentation. When this was put together, we want to do remind everyone of the history behind forming the Children's Trust, and then take you right up through where we are today. So I will go through this as quickly as possible to leave enough time for discussion, but feel free to stop if there's any questions or comments intermittently as I go through this. Some of you may remember that the impetus for the Children's Trust goes way back, so I'm not going to go all the way back as far as the history goes, but I'm going to start around 2015 when the County Commission formed the Children's Services Advisory Board. And the Children's Services Advisory Board was originally formed to take a look at children ages 0 to 5, and they engaged with Well Florida to do a needs assessment. And they came up with 4 primary goals, which was to ensure that every baby was healthy, to prevent abuse and neglect before it starts, to ensure that families have access to high quality and developmentally appropriate early learning care, and to ensure that all children enter kindergarten ready to learn and to succeed. And those goals came out of the Wells Florida Needs Assessment that basically showed that families did not always understand the effects of early childhood brain development on their children. Services existed in Alachua County, but families weren't always familiar with them. Of course, there was always issues to access when it comes to cost, location, transportation, hours of operation, and many parents were not well informed as to what made up quality childcare in the first place. So out of that needs assessment and the 4 goals that I previously mentioned, the Children's Services Advisory Board developed 3 primary initiatives. And I think what's important to note about those initiatives is that the intent was not to just merely fund programs or agencies that already existed, but to require agencies and providers and policymakers and systems leaders to think about doing business to serve children and families in a new way. So the programs really involved multiple agencies, multiple service providers, and sometimes overlapping service delivery systems. So the first program was the Universal Nurse Home Visiting Program. And that program entitles every mother of a newborn child in Alachua County, regardless of income, race, location, wherever you may be in the county, to get a visit from a registered nurse. And the goal is really to educate the mother, to connect with other services if they need other services, and also to really be that first look in the home to make sure that families have everything they need to have a safe and supportive environment for their child. And so that program.
Mr. Murphy, are we supposed to be seeing the slides along with what you're saying?
Yes. What are you seeing instead?
We just see your Windows home screen.
Okay. Well, we don't want to see that. So let me try again.
Well, you have a very clean desktop. That's what I was impressed by.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to see that. So let's try this. How does that look?
There we go.
Okay. There should be a mother and a baby on the screen.
Yep, we got it now. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So that was the first program, and that involved Well Florida and Healthy Start Northeast Florida, and both of the major hospitals in town, and some home healthcare agencies to actually provide the home visiting services. The second program is the Transformational Professional Development Program, which was a collaboration of the Child Center, which I know you're all familiar there with on the southwest side of town, the Anita Zucker Center for Excellence in Early Childhood Studies. They partnered with a Head Start, O2B Kids, and the Early Learning Coalition, and of course the county. And that program does 2 things. One is it provides a high quality child care experience at the child center as a demonstration site of what high quality child care services should look like. And so other child care professionals can come and visit the center, But the other thing it does is it takes the practices of high quality childcare and takes them out into the community through a practice-based coaching model developed by the Zucker Center. And so that, as you can see, that involves multiple systems and multiple providers. And the intent is really to strengthen the service delivery of early childcare educators throughout the county. The third program is a healthy social and emotional development program. And this program recognizes that within childcare centers, children have presenting issues at times that ultimately are the result of other things in their lives that happen outside of the childcare center. So this is really a holistic model that works with families and childcare providers to really handle the underlying social and emotional issues and work with both the families and children to make sure that we keep the children in the child care center and connect families with all the resources that they need so that the children can get all the support they need while they're in the child care centers. And we work with there's about 10, I would say, this year throughout the community that we're working with. So those were the three primary initiatives. And then those led, the impetus from the Children's Services Advisory Board led to the ultimate passing of the Children's Trust about 2 years ago, with the unanimous endorsement of all the major governing bodies in the county. And eventually, after almost 10 months, we got a full board. And the full board then took the time to develop their own mission, vision, and guiding principles. So since you have the backup, I won't read all these word for word, except to say that many of the guiding principles that were a part of the Children's Services Advisory Board have, of course, carried over to the Children's Trust. Now, the Children's Trust has expanded our area of concern from children 0 to 5 all the way up through birth to 18 years of age. And so what we have been working on is making sure that we have a clear definition of what it means to be an effectively supported child. So we've used a model of results-based accountability to basically come up with 4 primary goals around child well-being in the county. And the first goal is that children are born healthy and remain healthy. All children can learn what they need to be successful. All children have nurturing, supportive caregivers and relationships, and all children live in a safe community. So those may sound familiar, but then what we have done is we have taken the data to support each of those goals to make sure that we can explain in terms of real numbers what those mean. And so in the backup materials, you'll see a lot of data points broken out in various ways by race and age. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but the purpose was that for each goal is that we have operationalized those into some critical measures that we'll be looking at. So when it comes, for example, to all children are born healthy and remain healthy, we are looking at infant mortality per 1,000 live births, hospitalizations for self-inflicted injuries, STDs, and our child food insecurity rates. And so just to give you an example of how we break down the data, when we look at low birth weights, for example, we see that when we look at Florida would be the orange line, that Alachua County, especially when it comes to our African-American population, is of course higher than where we'd like to be. And we think it's very important to make sure when available that we are looking at all of this data broken down by race so that we get a clear picture of how we're doing and who needs the services the most, and that we're looking at it, everything through an equity lens. Again, as I said, in your material, there's supporting data for all of the other points as well. But I just wanted to point out, for example, in this case, this is one where, as you can see, it's not really going in the direction that we'd like it to go. Our second result is all children can learn what they need to be successful. We are looking at, 3 primary indicators, which I'm sure will be very familiar to all of you, that children are ready for kindergarten. We're looking at 3rd grade reading levels and then high school graduation rates. And again, as we can see, when it comes to being ready for kindergarten, Alachua County, it's not too bad. It's a little bit actually better than the state. This data from this particular data source is hard to break down by race, so we'll have to look at some other ways to get that data. But when it comes to 3rd grade reading levels, that is very easy to disaggregate. And as you can see, everyone knows the disparities here because it's been well talked about. So that's something that we're obviously very concerned with as well. And again, we have done this and broken down the data for each of these results. When it comes to children have nurturing, supportive caregivers and relationships, again, another data point that we're looking at that has been discussed in this county is the disparities in arrest rates. And the Department of Juvenile Justice has a relative rate index, which is a comparative statistic between African American and whites. And as we can see that we're the second highest, or second worst, I should say, in the state when looking at all of the other 67 counties. And then, so we have done this for each of our 4 result areas. In the meantime, we have currently funded about $3 million worth of programming. Those programs are serving about 15,000 children. Now, those are not all unduplicated. Some of these programs are crossing over and serving some of the same kids, but this is the best data we have at the time. We're funding 43 agencies for 47 different programs. The median award is about 30,000, and as you can see, it ranges from anywhere from 5,000 to over 400,000 right now. When we categorize the different categories of program types, we break them down a few different ways. You can see we're funding in the areas of health right now, out of school time, professional development. So for example, the transformational professional development program would be one example of professional development. We have some other categories. And when you look at it as far as ages, we're funding, depending on how you want to break it down, some programs that serve all ages to some programs that serve 6 to 18, and then some that break it down by various ages in school. So we also are tracking exactly what areas of town these programs are located. And like I said, that first funding round was really our first run, and so we plan on refining our processes and our measurements and how we evaluate these programs going forward. And so we also wanted to let you know that we do have 4 contracts with the city right now. 2 of those contracts were around summer. The Skybridge computer lab expansion was for some equipment. The summer camp expansion, because of COVID, was delayed, so that contract has been extended and will take place this upcoming summer. And then we have 2 contracts with the city through the police department, the HEROES program and the RESET program. And again, the HEROES was able to do quite a bit this year. I'm not sure, RESET not so much because of the, again, because of COVID. So our next steps are really to look at those 4 result areas and the data with it and apply the results-based accountability framework, and to try to develop to first figure out, make sure we know who all our partners are, and then to go through and look at the evidence and to develop some evidence-based practices that have a reasonable chance of turning these indicators towards going in the right direction, and building our upcoming funding portfolios around what we think might work. And so come the first of the year, we'll have a process of also engaging all of our stakeholders as we put together that plan. So as we come into the spring, be able to have some, some concrete funding opportunities to see if we can make a difference in those 4 results areas. So that was a fast overview of that presentation. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. If not, I will sit back and listen to your discussion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Murphy. I appreciate it. We do have a question from Commissioner Johnson, and it would be helpful to me if you could take down your screen so I can see everybody again.
Okay.
Commissioner Johnson, go right ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a question for our city manager. Can you explain what the reset program is? I'm not familiar with it.
Not in great detail, I apologize, but I'll get that information to you. But it's basically an at-risk youth program that the chief has been running. But
And how long have we had the program?
a few years, I believe.
Okay. And Chair Pickinson, or Mr. Murphy, what happens if apparently we haven't used the funds because of COVID? What happens in the case of when a grantee does not use the funds?
This first round of funding, we anticipated people wouldn't use the funds because we didn't give it out till March. COVID just happened to be an extra wrinkle. We have extended for everybody that has requested it, those contracts through the end of this fiscal year, which just started in October. So those funds can be expended all the way through September 30th.
Okay, thank you.
I have a request. But when you're doing your data for, say, like youth arrests and things like that, that's for the entire county, right?
I believe so, yes.
So what I would like, this is more a request for our staff. I'd like to pull out GPD and know exactly what we're contributing to those numbers versus the sheriff's office or the other police departments in the county. We were getting a quarterly update from the Gainesville Police Department at our General Policy Committee, but we haven't been doing that since COVID. So, I think that's something, Lee, that we could always just ask to be pinned to that report. We are with the metrics that the Children's Trust is using to identify whether they're making progress or not. So,
Yes, sir, we'll do that. And I just hung up the phone real quick with Chief Jones. The reset program is a new program. It's a mentoring program designed for the most at-risk students or children.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Feldman. Commissioner A. Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's great to have this meeting with all of you, and glad to see you all have a full board. And thank you for serving. I do have one question on the youth arrest as well. Does that include notice to peers or just an arrest, or how are you differentiating between that? Because both of those kind of lead to getting into the criminal justice system.
Commissioner Hayes Santos, through the chair, that data is directly from DJJ, so it's whatever would trigger a DJJ contact.
Okay.
And
All right.
so that's what we're doing now. I think what you're saying is that there might be some other ways to look at some of that data, and that's certainly something we could do.
Thank you.
Yeah, and actually, with NTAs probably are being counted, and that's a whole nother discussion for what we're working on, our deflection program. That's again internally. I think there's some of this stuff that, clearly as the largest law enforcement agency in the Children's Trust area and with the most people, some of this stuff is going to be directly our responsibility to work on and address. And those are good metrics. And so, we just want to hold ourselves accountable. I had 2 areas of, sort of inquiry, I guess, that the city, I'm wondering where our role is. One was in transportation. That was identified as a major barrier to the health and success of many children. And of course, we operate a large and highly effective and growing more agile all the time regional transit system. And so I'd like to hear from the board a little bit as to how you see that asset potentially helping you achieve some of those goals. And then the other is, you know, I have been interested for some time, and you know, the Children's Trust, along with Boost, is really committed to after and out of school quality programming. And so, you know, I mean, there's 2 small grants that the city got to help with that, but I'd like to get the thoughts of the trust as to how we can participate with that goal in a more meaningful way. And I said 2, but there's 3. I also was hoping for an update on what coordination the trust is trying to provide for reading on grade level by 3rd grade. That's something the commission and school board agreed to work on, well, 2 years ago now, I think, if that joint meeting, if that was how long ago it was. But you know, that's the commission has not changed its you know, commitment to that or our desire to you know, see that accomplished in the next 5 years. But I'm wondering what the trust is doing to help move that along, and again, how might the city's efforts you know, be able to amplify those efforts on your all's part. So that's 3 things. Commissioner Santos, and then I don't know, Mr. Chair, if you want to try to answer those questions or just throw it out to anybody on your board is fine too. Commissioner Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question was on the transportation as well, and how can we work together on that? Because I think that's a major barrier that helps alleviate both truancy in schools and also helping people under 18 get jobs and then getting into activities as well. And I think this partnership between the Children's Trust and the city on this is a kind of perfect fit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and I'd love to share our ridership data with y'all. We maybe already have, but the what are we calling it, Lee? The micromobility, the kind of bus on demand routes that we funded through the joint agreement with the county on the gas tax.
First mile, last mile.
First mile, last mile, yeah. So I think Trust knows about this, but there's probably other people watching as well that might not. So we run these small little buses, sort of almost Lyft style. You can call and ask for them to come pick you up at your house, and then they'll take you to take you to like Rosa Parks, to like a transfer station, or even drop you off along the way. I mean, if you're trying to get to Walmart and Walmart's on the way, they'll just swing and drop you off. But when we started that, I think over 50% of the ridership were students, school students. And so that really surprised us. We didn't think those would be the primary users, but these were folks that lived less than 2 miles from the school, and who otherwise were having trouble finding a way to get there. And so we've been expanding that program as funds are available. And it's, I think, our ultimate goal to have that type of system in place throughout the city, connected to a few major sort of connector routes, like cross city type routes. And, I can really see that helping with closing the transportation gap that many of our students have both before and after school in a really efficient way. So that's hanging out there too. Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer your questions, as far as the transportation is concerned, it's been long enough that I wasn't involved in the first mile, last mile program. So, I don't know how that was done, and gosh darn, I'm sorry I've missed that conversation. But it sounds like a good program, and I don't know, I don't know anything about it. Some of the members of the trust may, But if y'all could send us information about that, that would be great. So we can learn something about it and see, you know, how it's funded and whatnot. But as far as transportation, just general transportation, we did some research, and, you know, there's a variety of ways that cities and counties have helped, you know, but there was a number that in the event that there were no new routes available, you know, that was created as a result of trying to help the children get to wherever they were going. Many of the programs just said, okay, well, you know, we're not doing anything. It doesn't cost us anymore. We'll just give the children free passes. This first mile, last mile, I don't know that that would necessarily be the case, because it sounds like y'all are incurring some expense as far as that's concerned. So it would be good to have more information about that. You know, as you know, our budget is limited to around I think this year is about $8 million. So we don't have a lot of money to do things with. So anything where we can get a partnership, that would be great. As far as the after school programs, if you look at the information, I think we ended up doing about 1.2, 1.4 million dollars worth of programs, and the majority of them were after school programs. So as far as partnering with the city of Gainesville, what we are looking for, what we are trying to do is if there are duplicative programs, we're trying to get as much bang for the buck. And what we want to see more than anything else is if there's already a program that is doing something similar, how can the two programs collaborate so that we can figure out how you know, what's the best way of doing this? Because if there's 4 or 5 programs that are essentially doing the same thing, perhaps there's a way we can do it where it reduces administrative costs and some of the overhead, and the trust utilizes money a little bit more efficiently.
Mr. Chair, real quick on that, because that's fascinating. I'm a huge advocate of consolidating things that are sort of tripping over each other. Have you all come up with a list of those programs and organizations, or is that something you're in the process of doing? And then sort of how do you go from identifying the duplication to then, I mean, do you serve as like intermediary or mediator to bring them together and try to get them to collaborate? Or
well, part of this, Lauren, is that you know, it's a new entity, and Colin has busted his hump, you know, just trying to get us from point A to point B and without much staff. And so what he has done is recently, I think he's getting almost near where he has all the staff that he wants. And some of those responsibilities, as far as compiling that sort of information, as far as number of programs, now we do have some of that already, but as far as getting the complete list and to see where collaboration might exist, that is probably going to be something that staff will probably be able to help us tremendously with that task. Now, I don't want to put words in Colin's mouth, so take it away, Colin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I wanted to let the mayor and the commission know that you had mentioned Boost, and quality. We've had several discussions before we funded programs to make sure that we were funding programs that at least had a minimum standard of quality. And so one of the things that we are doing is that ties not only into your question of duplication of services, but how are we addressing some of the other goals? For example, 3rd grade reading is that a gap that a trust can fill, that really very few other entities in a city can do, is it can really beef up a city's summer programming network. And so I think we see the city as a key service provider of summer programming. And we are actually working with the Youth Development Research Partnership, the YDRPP, which is some university of professors that have worked closely with Boost. And as we speak, they're performing a summer needs assessment for us, which will tell us where are some of the programs this summer or in past summers, where are they around the county? But what is the capacity, and what do we think the gap is as far as number of children served? The target would probably be kids in the K to 8 range, And the intent would be to give them not only some experiences in the summer that provide a safe place for them to be, but enriching experiences that also give them an opportunity to focus on reading over the summer and prevent summer skill loss. So one of the first things we're tackling while we're developing the rest of the funding portfolio is we're using this upcoming summer as an opportunity to do some of the things that you just mentioned.
And one last thing, the last category, and Colin touched on it, was the reading. I think that reading is multifaceted, and I think that the programs that we're funding, as far as the initial interaction between mother and child and the healthcare professionals while they're in the hospital, what that does is it allows the healthcare professional to evaluate the mother and child, but it also gives them the opportunity to, as they have the discussions, perhaps give them information about what services are available. That's number one. Number two, the program that's happening, the Child Care Resource Center out in the SWAG area. Whatever we can do from 0 to 3 to 5 to 6 is going to be instrumental in the child's ability to read ultimately. So, that is a very key component. And what's great about that program is that not only do they offer the services there, they also offer the services to other people that are in the childcare industry. And as come in here you can see how the best practices are. And then they also go out to different child care facilities. And Pat Snyder is really the best one to talk about this, but it's a really great program, and what it allows the opportunity for the interaction with the children to get them to the point where when they start school, they're ready. And as you've heard me say a billion times before, that's key. So where the city can play a role, obviously, would be, as Colin said, the after school programs, so that, are in the summer, so that when a child, doesn't lose whatever they've learned while in the school year, they're still being, coached up, so to speak, during the off season. And especially now in the COVID world, they don't lose, all that they've achieved while being exposed to that. So I think that's a big role for the city of Gainesville. And I've said enough. So if there's anybody else from the Child Care Trust, the Children's Trust Board, it'd be good to hear from them.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got some great people.
There's a lot of brain power on your board. I'm pretty impressed. Commissioner Ariola, over to you next.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the board as well for meeting with us and hearing that presentation. A lot, for a very long time, this community has invested deeply into our children and our youth, but I think that we're really beginning to mature our systemic approach as a community to addressing all of our young people, and this board is a huge part of that. So I just want to express my appreciation for y'all's work. My same thing is always from the city. What can we do as an institution? Besides the school board, we're one of the largest providers of youth services, whether it be through our summer youth programs or as was mentioned pretty extensively, our transportation system. So I think that anything that we can provide in terms of evidence-based resources and suggestions for how both the programs that we look to get funded from you all, and then also as you all begin to sort of figure out your next phases and how you all are going to sort of move in the next few years. I think that, with all the discussions that we've had regarding youth programs and youth policies and whatnot, I think that we need to continue to trend in the direction of really finding and empowering more interagency cooperation. And the way to do that, it really does take a degree of expertise to be able to do that. It's probably going to take more than a part-time position, or just someone else's work. It may actually require some type of full dedication, whether it's a separate agency or whether it's within one of our governments. But I want to make sure that whatever we do direct towards that it's evidence-based on not just trying to increase our funding for the sake of funding or increasing the number of programs we fund for the sake of it, but that we actually have an evidence-based policy that is going to drive a system of youth development in our city and in our county, because I think that that's the direction we really ought to go. So I don't have any specifics tonight. I just wanted to sort of express my thoughts on where I think we should be heading. It sounds very much like you all are moving in that direction, primarily for 0 to 18. I think that our responsibility as a government is to help you in that aspect. But as I've told my fellow commissioners, I do think that we have a responsibility to those over 18 as well, because there's a lot of opportunities that we can create for them in the city. And we'll be having those discussions in a series of positive youth development workshops over the next few months. So I'd love for y'all to tune in and definitely love to hear from you all. As has been said, there's a lot of brain power, and so I'm always eager to learn from those with experience and knowledge. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Ms. Hart, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. I was really struck by Commissioner Ariela's speaking of interagency cooperation, which I would kind of describe as the grout in this kind of mosaic of programs that we've got. And I think we all share the intention of trying to change the system and making this beautiful, but sometimes disorganized, crazy quilt of programs into a system that keeps kids from falling through the cracks. And as Colin was making his presentation, I was trying to listen to it with a city lens. And I've never worked in city government, but I was trying to think about things that are on your table that are not necessarily on ours that we need you for. And so I have a little list. One of them is in law enforcement. I know that I've been to speak to you before about de-escalation training for our law enforcement officers. And I think that when children with autism are interacting with law enforcement, that's one of the times when emotions get escalated and some unfortunate incidents happen between law enforcement and children who are behaving in kind of an out of control way. And I wanted to remind you that de-escalation training needs to be universal with all law enforcement. And last time I spoke to Chief Jones about it, he said he would be happy to do it if City Commission required that as part of training. And I don't know whether you've done that or not. As for after school programs and Boost, one thing I think we both could request of Boost is I would like for them to tell us how they handle the situation where children age out of one program, then we don't want them to fall through a crack. What's the next program for them that would be age appropriate and perhaps interest appropriate that might not have a transportation gap for them? And I don't think we've ever really required Boost to communicate with each other within their after school programs to look for those gaps and to make sure that children don't fall through them. As for reading on grade level, Colin and our chair have already mentioned that that's really Dr. Snyder's area of expertise, but I can't help but think about eviction. All of the single moms and not necessarily single moms, families with small children who are about to be evicted are at risk for having children have interruptions in their schooling and also just compounding problems that they may have with learning to read. So I think if there's any way in your housing policies, you could protect families with small children when it comes to eviction in attempting to stabilize their housing. And if there are ways that we can help with that, I don't know what they are, but maybe you could communicate those to us. And that's my list, but I am so grateful to you for taking the time to meet with us today, because I think there are a lot of things that we can do together, and it's going to probably take us a while to learn how to work together effectively, but I'm all on board, and I look forward to it.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Hart. So for de-escalation, we do de-escalation training. I don't know if we include in those modules specific training to interact with people with autism. So I'll ask our city manager to find out and update both our commission and y'all on that. And then evictions are tough. The city doesn't have a lot of ability or authority to stay an eviction notice. And maybe Judge Bullard knows more about this. It's more bailiwick probably than mine. But I know when like COVID was coming, we were getting a lot of requests to either stop evictions or to terminate leases. And we just don't have the authority to do that. So I think it's a good follow-up question on, where does that authority rest, and then have them on board so we can sort of have a rapid response once we identify a family, in crisis, that we know who has the authority to stay in eviction. So I'm very interested in learning that as well. That's a good point. Over to you, Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank all of you for helping make this meeting happen. I am a huge fan of all of our government agencies working together as a loosely knit intergovernmental agency. People at home using services don't care whether it's the city of Gainesville or Alachua County or the Children's Services Council or the school board or whomever who's providing those services. They just need to get what their taxes have already paid for. So I'm always happy when we can have this kind of collaboration. I hope that I look forward to the day when we can do it live. I think this is the proper way to do things now, but I really get a lot of energy out of meeting with folks live, and I look forward to that day again. I appreciate everything that everyone's brought to the table. I want to put in a little bit of an extra boost for transportation services. Our first mile, last mile program, the pilot has been very successful. We have 8 other potential zones already in our 10-year transit plan, and hoping that we can find ways to move those forward. But they don't cover the entire city. And I will tell you that I am very interested in improving ways that all children of an appropriate age can access RTS at any time without barrier, without worrying about the fare. It'll reduce truancy. It helps older kids get to the library, get to after school jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll be following up with hopefully with all of you to talk a little more about that. But I just want to put that little extra boost in there that we're talking about children all over the city, because as you know, there are pockets of poverty and of transportation difficulty across the city. It's not just something that happens in one zone that we provide a first mile, last mile services. There are pockets across the area. So thank you all for your time this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. And before I forget, I'll get right to you, Commissioner Sacco, but Mr. Chair, if you'd like our mobility folks to come and present to the board on first mile, last mile, I know they'd be happy to. I'm speaking on behalf of the city manager here, but we can either send information over, or if you want to have them, it probably would be less than a half an hour worth of of a discussion.
Lauren, why don't you send us the information over and then we can read it and
Sure.
schedule a time. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. All right, Commissioner Sacco.
Mayor, hi everyone. I don't think I've met most of you except for maybe Colin, but good to meet you all. I wanted to address Ms. Hart's question about homelessness in students, and so it might be more the jurisdiction of the school board, but there is a federal law that protects students who become homeless or live in transitional housing or have to double up with other families, whatever, children without stable housing, better put. So the McKinney-Vento Act does ensure that the children receive other resources through some kind of liaison that their school board or school should have. So while we can't do it, the school board might have a better liaison for anyone experiencing homelessness or a transitional change during this time, which isn't, the best answer. I wish I could stop an eviction, but they might have other resources available for that situation, and it's available all the way from preschool up until 12th grade. So it doesn't separate the children or anything. It does require that you provide them the same levels of service so that they can succeed equal to their peers. So if that helps at all, I wanted to share that with the group. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very helpful. Thank you. All right, I don't see any other hands. Any other thoughts anybody wants to share? Yes, Dr. Labarda.
And let me unmute. So listening to everybody, one of the things that occurs to me that we have an opportunity to do here through maybe starting as part of the summer, but also I think ongoing, is reducing the number of people that certain high-risk families are engaged with. So for example, a family involved in the child welfare system might have a child welfare case manager, a child welfare counselor, a mental health counselor, a mental health case manager, an economic self-sufficiency person. And they have to meet with all of those people while remaining employed, remaining housed in order to fulfill case plans. And I think we have an opportunity through a different approach to funding services to reduce the number of people that are engaged in any one family and to really focus the intervention in a way that doesn't overwhelm a family that's already sort of in crisis mode often. And so I think in terms of summer programs, if we could meet the kids where they are, it helps overcome some of the transportation issues. If we can meet the families where they are naturally going to arrive to pick up their child or to fulfill some other function, I think we have an opportunity there. And I think that that's funding that's often difficult to do within the silos that many of our organizations live. So I think this idea, I think Harvey said it, of intergovernmental sort of cross-governmental agency contact really does offer a huge opportunity for us to change how we do the work we do.
Lauren, I think Pat wanted to say something.
Yeah, Dr. Snyder, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up about related to the third grade reading issues. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but there's a group of individuals who have been involved in the campaign for grade level reading success here in our community, and number of stakeholders looking at it from birth, of course, up to third grade and 8th grade and all the different markers. But a group of community citizens and some folks from the center that I direct at UF have been engaged in an institute called Lectio Institute, which is they've undergone some support and training around how to think about setting community-wide goals around literacy and early reading and reading success. So I just wanted to let people know that there are people here in the community who have already begun to take action around thinking about a more comprehensive community-focused approach and integrated approach to looking at grade level reading, but thinking about it from birth up to third grade, as Lee said earlier. And so I don't know if others are aware of it, or Colin, if you want to talk more about, what you know about the campaign and the activities that they're trying to get underway.
I would love if you would send me contact for somebody in that group, and I'd love to invite them to a city commission meeting to present to us what they're working on and how we can be allies. That sounds fantastic. And I was not aware until you just told me about it. So that's good to know.
And I think thinking about it, like everyone has been saying, from an integrated perspective, and how can we think about it through the trust, through their activities, and through what the city and the county and the school board and everyone is doing. So we approach it from a community perspective and think about community-focused literacy, not just books, but signs in your neighborhood and signs on the side of the road, and just educating everybody about literacy is all around us. So.
Right on.
I'll send you more information about it, Lauren, but I think it's important to recognize that there are a group of people who are really trying to work hard to bring some resources to bear and integrated around this.
That's excellent. All right, good. I look forward to that.
And so,
welcome,
Karen. And so as a follow-up, I think we just need to be more visible regarding our successes. So often we hear a lot of negative and see a lot of those percentages that are saying we're not doing so well in certain areas. And so as a community, let's talk more about all of the successes. Let's be more open and transparent about many of the programs that are going on in our community that are working. And let's be consistent in terms of sharing that information. There are so many people who are walking around with what we call learned helplessness, or not having a lot of hope. And I think that it is our obligation to continuously share with the community of, here are some of the things that are going on, and these programs and initiatives are available for you. I think all of us can agree that sometimes we're in meetings, and even though we are well informed about what's going on in the community, there still are 3 or 4 additional programs and initiatives that we're not, aware of. So I think we all could do a better job in just increasing the visibility of the successful programs that we have in our community.
Absolutely, Dr. Goldsmith. If we don't advocate for ourselves, nobody else is going to do it. That's absolutely true 100% of the time. Ms. Certain, welcome. Can't hear you, even though you're unmuted.
I said, hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. I just wanted to add that I am a member of the Letico group that's from this area, the grade level reading campaign. And we are in our 3rd week. Today was our 3rd week. And so once we finish up, I will share with the group, and I think we would be glad to come and to share out with everyone. We're evaluating the multiple programs, and we've just focused on 2 that are being offered in our area, in our county. And so I think it'll be probably another couple of weeks before, or maybe the first of the year before, it'll be good for us to share out as a team with everyone. But it's a very good institute, and I think it will yield great benefits for us.
That's great. Just let me know when y'all are ready, and we'll get you on one of our agendas to present and look at how we can help support you. And I think that really dovetails a lot with what your chair was talking about with the retention issue. And I don't know, I talked to my wife a little bit, who's a 4th grade teacher, but I don't know what you're hearing from your teachers for this year. I'm imagining the retention was a much bigger challenge coming into this school year because of COVID versus a normal school year. So for whatever programs the city does, if we can identify those things that will specifically help reduce or eliminate the retention deficits that our students you come back in the fall with, we can weave those into our programming. So that's something, I think. We can do that too, and show a bit.
Thank you, Tina, for serving on it.
What's that?
I thank Tina for serving on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything you're not on? You're on every board, aren't you? You said yes once, and then everybody left.
Yeah, this is a good one here, though. This one is a good one.
I'm thrilled you're on there. That makes me happy to know that. Great. Anybody else have any thoughts they want to share? I think we got a little bit of a to-do list, which is great. We'll work on that and let you know. We'll send you the information you requested, and be at your service if you want any more follow-up, including, you know, be at a meeting. Anybody else? Anybody have anything else?
Thank you, Lauren, for meeting with us, and you and all the commissioners. It was good seeing y'all again, and Ms. Sacco, it was good seeing you in your official capacity for the first time. So, you know, we can't tell y'all thank you enough for all that you do for children, and we hope that you know, in the future we can figure out ways where we can make the collaboration even better.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll plan on doing a follow-up meeting, you know, maybe 6 months out after we've had some time to work on some of this, and you all have, you know, a little bit more time to develop your next sort of phase, because you know, I think it's good to keep fresh with each other. So we'll just work on that between the two of us and get another date scheduled. All right. Well, thank you all. Really appreciate it. If I can do anything for you all individually or as a trust, I'm happy to. But it sounds like you've got a good staff and a good plan, and are sort of settling into the role. So we really appreciate all the service. None of you have to do this. None of you are getting paid, but you're doing mission-driven work, and it's really starting to show. So really appreciate it. All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned, City.
And same here. We're adjourned as well. Thank y'all until we meet again.
Thanks,
Everybody
everybody.
stay well.
All right.